Secretary Rubio, my dear friend Marco,
Okay.
it's great to welcome you in Jerusalem with your delegation.
Excuse me. I'm a little stuffy today, y'all. It's I got some congestion and stuff, but it's just the weather changing. It's snow here, and it's pretty cold actually. The temperature dropped again. We actually had some snow the last couple of days, but it's been consistent over the last day, at least a little consistent than it normally is. But this is Rubio on his trip to the Middle East now, right after you saw JD Vance, you saw Seth Hegseth, you saw all the usual suspects. And now they've arrived in the Middle East. Now, this is after Trump delivered his devastating message to everyone in the region, and that is he simply wants to buy Gaza and kick Palestinians out. Now, he doesn't see how it would work with them there because he hasn't read anything about what constitutes genocide, the different parts. Now, there could be 10 or 20 parts, it could be 10 main parts, right? That constitute genocide, what that could be. It doesn't have to be all 10 of them to make you genocidal. It could be one or two or three. Now, all superpowers have been questioned about this, their use of power and how they use their veto to cover up crimes that maybe happen. Russia has been known to do it. China's been known to do it. The US has done it also from time. They all, whatever you want to call it, they all use veto power on the Security Council whenever they're accused of being attached to anything that's not according to what they would like it to be, essentially, when it comes to crimes that hurt people. Now, the U.S. has already been engaged supporting Israel for many years. For many years. I mean, this is a long engagement. Now, it's ironic because it seems like the U.S. is backing up Israel no matter what party or no matter what policy. But what I noticed here is Netanyahu doesn't seem to care at all about. I mean, just there, it seemed like he could have given a little bit of acknowledgement about the U.S. in general, something that's bipartisan, but he didn't even mention Biden at all. And Biden is the one, and Kamala Harris have basically been accused of losing an election because they didn't side with Palestine. That's what they have been accused of. Now, that's probably Russian propaganda pushing that theory, but a lot of these people that voted for Trump believe that type of propaganda, right? Or disinformation. And then some people actually believe that, yeah, there are Palestinians that didn't vote for Kamala Harris and Biden, that advocated against them, saying that they were genocidal. And now look at what we have here. Now, this should give everybody pause. This should give Europeans pause. This should give Americans pause or Palestinians pause, the Middle East. This should get everybody pause. Like, okay, so is there going to be more war? MAGA, is there going to be more war, MAGA? Because it seems like I try to tell people all the time, don't fall for the Cold War, because that's what Donald Trump is looking for. He wants to exacerbate tensions so there can be a war so he can make personal money off of weapons dealings. So it doesn't get more interesting than right here with this story.
Secretary Rubio,
Let me make sure the chat is on.
my dear friend Marco, it's great to welcome you in Jerusalem with your delegation. It's great to welcome you in Jerusalem as Secretary of State of the United States. I have to say that this visit comes in the wake of a historic visit to Washington. I've said, and I'm going to repeat it again.
I mean,
because it's so true.
Was the last Secretary of what is he? A Secretary of State was the last one. Blinken, was he not so good?
President Trump is the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House. And the visit in Washington reflected that in every way. And your visit here reflects it in every way.
Middle Eastern people, you've heard it right there from Netanyahu himself. Trump has, and every Palestinian, I want you to hear me, because there's a lot of Americans that actually support Palestinians, the Palestinian cause. I'm just saying, regardless of what you think, those are the facts. Now, it may not always show itself the best way in American politics, of course, and that can be argued, obviously, right? Um, and I understand a lot of the criticisms myself. Come on, what is it? It's obvious. My entire life, this conflict has been going on, and it has never been solved. But I could tell you, as a person who did vote for Biden, who did vote for Kamala Harris, I actually do have empathy for the Palestinian cause, like a lot of people do, but it doesn't always look like it through how our politicians communicate. But you could see Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did not get any love from Netanyahu. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that? What do you think the difference could be? Could the difference be based on how they approach the Israeli Palestinian issue? Could the issue be that the Democratic Party does acknowledge Palestine's right to exist, the Palestinian people, the people that have been there the entire time? Could it be that? Could that be the difference? I think it is. So, whether people understand this, there's a lot of Democrats that did definitely suspect Trump would be worse for Palestinian people and for the Middle East and for the US. There's a lot of people that believed Trump's corruption will lead to more war. Now, that's not the MAGA people. The MAGA people didn't think it would lead. They didn't talk nothing about this. In fact, they said we should stay out of people's business. But you see what they accept? The MAGA people accept worse, far worse. Why is that? Because they have aligned themselves with fascism. And fascists don't like people in Mali any more than they like a homosexual, any more than they like a woman, any more than they like a handicap, any more than they like an Asian, any more than they like anybody. They state this. This is just obvious. They don't like Jews. But Netanyahu, for some reason, aligns himself with a regime that does use that kind of language and symbology. So we will see how it turns out. But this is real time, y'all.
Today, Secretary
Or just 15 minutes. This just happened a half an hour ago. No more. It could still be going on.
Rubio and I had a very productive discussion with our staffs on a number of issues. None of them are more important than Iran. Israel and America stand shoulder to shoulder in countering the threat of Iran. We agreed that the Ayatollahs must not have nuclear weapons. And we also agreed that Iran's aggression in the region has to be rolled back. Over the last 16 months, Israel has dealt a mighty blow to Iran's terror axis.
No.
Under the strong leadership.
Who else? Who else took a political hit but survived? Obama. Obama took a political hit because he arranged the nuclear agreement so Iran would stop moving towards making a nuclear bomb. And so Iran could come back into the fold with everyone else on the Middle East to make decisions to help resolve the peace. Trump stripped that away on day one. He stripped that agreement away. So Iran moved towards what they have said they were moving towards, and that's to create or their nuclear capacity to develop it. Now, Israel finds that as a direct threat to their existence. That's what they say. Iran finds Israel a direct threat to their existence, and they have every reason to, because look at what I mean, Rubio is literally meeting him in the opening conversation is that, hey, everything's fine. And on top of that, Iran is a threat. Does that sound like a good turn? Do you trust Trump? What would make Trump say, hey, let's just not bomb Iran? If Trump makes a deal with Putin, where does that put Iran? Do you think Putin will live up to Iran? Or what do you think Putin can do? What do you think his military is capable of doing? Defending Iran? How? With a nuke? They've been saying that all the time. Nuke, 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 nuke. Every day of the week, they threaten a nuke. So I don't know. This is some very different times we live in. But hey,
for President
It's different could be good for some people.
Trump, and with your unflinching support. And we also agree that Iran's aggression in the region has to be rolled back. Over the last 16 months, Israel has dealt a mighty blow to Iran's terror axis. Under the strong leadership of President Trump, and with your unflinching support.
What about U.S. military under Biden being there? Literally with the military shooting down drones and rockets.
I have no doubt that we can and will finish the job. We also spoke a great deal about Gaza. I thank Secretary Rubio for President Trump's assistance in helping us secure the release of another 3 hostages yesterday. These are hostages that Hamas refused to support only a few days to release only a few days earlier. And I also thanked him for America's unequivocal backing for Israel's policy in Gaza in moving forward. I want to assure
I wonder what the policy
everyone
is.
who's now listening to us, President Trump and I are working in full cooperation and coordination between us. We have a common strategy, and we can't always share the details of this strategy with the public, including.
Of course not, including we can't share Elon Musk financial, information.
When the gates of hell will be opened, as they surely will, if all our hostages are not released until the last one of them.
So now he's making the demand over the hostages, but he's made no mention over what he sat in front of Trump and listened to. So this seems like something where all the participants, meaning American citizens, the US, Iran, Russia, China, Africa, Europe, seems like there's got to be more than one person that loses out, one group of people that lose out here. But they're all interconnected. So if Iran loses out, or if there's war in the Middle East over this issue of these hostages, just remember who is most likely capable of losing out. Now, normally I would think the people with the least amount of power would be, because those are the people that, don't have the real ability to stop any of this. The only people that have the ability to stop this are superpowers, yet they don't agree. The superpowers don't agree. One superpower that is backing up Netanyahu, who Netanyahu has said himself, admittedly, he hasn't had a better friend, is Trump's regime. The ones who took over power in basically undemocratic ways, and are at this very moment chipping away at American citizens' own human and civil rights. So to me, it seems like this is definitely out of the voters, the nations where voters vote. You will have to stand up for yourself. The United States has like 80 million people that don't vote. That's almost 1/3 of the voting population. And then you have voter suppression. So this is how you get Trump and Elon Musk, obviously, because no nation that has a good amount, a solid number of voting people, and even if you don't, why would you want like a Elon Musk or a Trump leading your nation? Why would you? Would you want a president that backstabs basically his own country, releases secret information? I mean, even just because don't have a big enough economy, as big of an economy as the U.S. doesn't mean you have to behave that way. It's loads of people that have more pride in their nation that they would never do that. But you could see not all Americans have this deep kind of pride in their own nation. And when you have money without the pride, other people will tap into the money, baby.
Israel is determined to achieve all the war objectives we set after the horrific attack on October 7th, the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. We will eliminate Hamas's military capability and its political rule in Gaza. We will bring all our hostages home, and we will ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
Okay. Is there more of this meeting? Why is it cut up? This was just live. Let's see if there's more. Is it just going to repeat? Okay, it just repeats. Let me back up from this one now. Okay, so that was live. And as you can see, a lot of other people are covering this right now. It just ended. And yeah, what can I say? What can I say? What can I say? You see people reacting to Trump and Putin now. People, Trump and Putin warming up to each other again. You know, this is kind of like the guy who is on the down low. It's like, you know, he shows himself this way in the day, says this, he's democratic and up for values and all of this, but then at nighttime he's with the authoritarianists. You know, that is the US apparently, you know, and it's hard to be an American citizen and watch this also. That is very, very hard because, you know, yeah, every American doesn't identify with this kind of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So it is hard to watch it when you see that the MAGA, the fascists, the crazy folks, they are in support of some of the most extreme things, some of the most extreme things, you know. And yeah, Trump is talking about it's not, you know. Let me see here, Mark Rubio. When did Netanyahu say that this was if it's not tonight or midnight or something? What is this? Let's see here. Let me just check this one more time.
And I discussed Lebanon as well. Israel in November. We expect the government of Lebanon to be equal in November. The scenes we saw this weekend in Beirut of UNIFIL forces being attacked by Hezbollah, this was not encouraging. The two UN resolutions that everyone refers to, 1559, 1709, 1701, well, they must be fully implemented. Hezbollah must be disarmed. And Israel, that the Lebanese army do that job, but no one should doubt that Israel will do what it has to do to enforce the understandings of the ceasefire and defend our security. The Secretary and I also discussed how the many international institutions have been hijacked and turned into anti-American and anti-Israeli forums. We see that in the UN General Assembly, in the UN Human Rights Commission, where anti-Americanism is rampant.
Did just J.D. Vance just run around telling Europeans that he sees a problem in their culture because they're anti-freedom of speech limits? And here, Netanyahu, he's totally contradicting it right here. That's what I'm saying. Y'all pay attention. There's a lot of different sides to this, you know, more than two sides, and there's more than three. Watch.
To the jurisdiction of the ICC and does not accept the court's authority. Israel commends President Trump and his administration for restoring his executive order against the ICC and for moving quickly to sanction ICC officials. The Secretary and I discussed working together to formulate a strategy to deal with the threat of lawfare and neutralize this threat once and for all. So these are some of the issues we discussed today. Believe it or not, there were more, many more.
How are you going to solve this issue? I mean, how is this issue? People have been saying to solve this once and for all. For how long? How long? How many generations have people been saying this? And who does that language matter most to? I mean, should that language matter more to Palestinians, you know, once and for all, to end this once and for all? Or should it apply more to Israel once and for all, get this over with? I mean, again, The Palestinians are the ones that are not living in a state with state rights yet. They're not recognized as a nation. They don't have sovereignty over their bodies, over what they do, really. They don't. They're pretty much in a prison situation, right? And some people have said it's apartheid like. And for me, yeah, it is like that. But how are you going to get out of this situation without causing a bigger problem? And when you're dealing with people like Trump, they will align themselves with the strangest persons for money. War and death doesn't matter. You know, when you align yourself with people like Putin, I'm telling you, war and death to a lot of these people is just weapons dealing, really. That's the easy way to make money. So more war, yes. More peace, no. It's just like the oil companies. Electric cars, they want to know how much money they can make on it first. But you can see in the US, Trump is against electric cars, but he's still for weapons dealing. And he will be soon for electric cars too. He already is, because his right-hand man is Elon Musk. But he's trying to negotiate personal deals for himself based on money that will backfire, that really going to cause a lot of people pain, because it will change. You see it change from Biden to Trump, and people can't imagine that it would change from Trump to something else. What is that something else? And yeah, but in any case, let's let this rock out a little.
This becomes impossible. They must be eliminated. It must be eradicated. On the broader issues that we discussed as well is the questions in Syria. And while the fall of Assad is certainly promising and important, if Syria replacing one destabilizing force for another is not a positive development. And that is something that we will watch very carefully as we seek to craft our own strategy with regards to how to approach the events in Syria. In the case of Lebanon, our goals are aligned and the same. A strong...
But this is ridiculous, because Putin... So what are they talking about? Putin was supporting... This is wild. This is wild. You know? And he's just announcing this. Now, obviously, I'll be right back with you all once this session ends. It's going to end in like 5 minutes, but I'll be back shortly. But this goes totally against what everyone else had already arranged and thought was peace.
Lebanese state that can take on and disarm has...
Hey, Andrea.
The common theme in all of these challenges is Iran. It is the single greatest source of instability in the region. Behind every terrorist group, behind every act of violence, behind every destabilizing activity, behind everything that threatens peace and stability for the millions of people who call this region home, is Iran. And by Iran, I mean the Ayatollah.
How is this? How are they not trying to set up a Cold War situation where they can all sell weapons and all run through and play different sides of the coin? Look at this. This makes... How can all these things converge at one time and coexist mysteriously? So now it is wild. Hold on. I'm going to be right back with y'all. I'm sorry. I have to be back. But this is too much. And it's really out there. I mean, who people are going to really speculate about what this foreign policy is really about. And I'm telling you right now, to me, it just looks like weapons dealing. Trump wants to create some havoc so he can cause some problems, so people will have a need to go to the US and buy weapons, or he can negotiate weapons. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. So, but look, I'll be right back with everybody in 5 minutes. Be right back, Andrew.
Dear friend Marco. say that this visit comes in the wake of a historic visit to Washington. I've said, and I'm going to repeat it again, because it's so